So hi guys, welcome back. This is my review of my 411 Royal Enfield Himalayan, the E5 22 Reg, and it's just 6,500 miles I've had the bike, and we'll discuss a few of the things that I've added to the bike to make it more user-friendly and comfortable for myself, and what I like about this bike. So let's take a little walk around and we'll show you things that I've done to the bike, and then at the end of this we'll come to a conclusion on what I think about the bike. And this is my personal opinion. I've watched many YouTube videos from guys in Australia, New Zealand, the States, and they've been discussing their views on the bike, and I agree with some and I don't agree with others, but we'll see whether you agree with my views of this bike. And if you do agree or don't agree, drop some comments below. I'd love to hear from you. But also at this stage, remind you to subscribe to the channel, because we got loads of good stuff coming up on the pipeline. So subscribe to the channel, hit the like button if you like what we're doing, but also ring that bell so that you can be notified when those next videos are coming up. Anyway, so without further ado, let's take a little walk around on the bike itself. Right, so here we are. We're set up on the hand cam now, and we're going to take a look at what the bike looks like after 6,500 miles. And yes, that's 6,500 miles, not kilometers, for you guys that live out of the UK and are watching this. And thanks very much for watching it, by the way. We'll start on the front and see what we've added to the bike. So there's Jimmy, parked in this lovely little environment, and on the first thing you can see is that we've added this brilliant little name to the bike. We called it Jimi for obvious reasons. And first of all, to the mudguard, we've added risers onto there, so it gives us what, about 10-12 millimeters extra rise on that mudguard. That really, if we got into a little bit of muck or cow shit on the roads, it's not going to clog that up and slow us down a little bit. We can't afford to be slowed down by anything. On these gaiters, I think they call them, we've added a couple of cable ties on there because they kept popping off of there, and they meant to prevent the dirt getting into that shock absorber. Still on the front, I don't know if you can see that, but we've added an LED lamp into that fitting. There used to be a standard halogen, I think it was, and the LED light works absolutely amazing. Going back to this, if you've watched my last video, you'll see I did a review on this screen. Okay, so it came with these are the Royal Enfield hand guards. This is an alloy, and that's plastic obviously, and they're good, they're great. I haven't been bushwhacking with the bike or anything like that, but even in the winter they help a little bit with the the wind deflection off your hands, your gloves, to keep your hands a little bit warmer. Well, there's so much happening on the front here, I just forgot all the stuff that I've done. I don't know if you can see here, the mirrors in this position here were not quite good enough for me. When I had my jacket on, the mirror, I would be looking at the top of my shoulder and it couldn't get past me. So I ordered these little extenders to go onto the mirror, and they work brilliantly. Just bolt into there and they screw into the top of this alloy, and very rock solid, and they're brilliant. They really do work well. Further to that, I got a little USB port. It's a double, not USB-C but USB-A, and if I got anything to charge on the bike, whether I want to charge a camera up here or whether I want to charge my phone, but on the phone I've got, let me take this phone off here so you can see, I've mounted on there the quad lock with the charging base. It's the vibration damper and the charging base onto the bike, and this here comes in line with it, and that is it's got an on-off auto switch on it. So when you're not charging, you put it in the off position. As you can see, that light goes off. You put it into the on position, the light would come on and then show you that's actually drawing power. So it's drawing power from your battery, which is what you don't want when the bike's not in use. Behind that, you can see, and I discussed this when I did the video on the touring screen, I've fitted this accessories bracket. You can see into the back of there the accessories bracket that I fitted on there, and that is brilliant. It just fits onto those two screws behind the screen, and it works so well. It's really easy to fit, and it's rock solid, and it gives me the opportunity to mount whatever I want onto there. And as you can see, what I've got mounted on there is my camera mount, and also obviously that quad lock base, which is great. What else have we got on the front here? Working around there. Oh yes, we've got a tank bag, and the tank bag clips directly onto there. It's one of those magnetic bases, so it finds itself with a magnetic base, and that's the SW Motec base that goes onto there. The tank bag that goes onto there. It's a brilliant little bag. It's got a little red cord that comes out of the front of it to unlock it, so it's very simple to attach and to release. And I've got the small one that fits onto there. It's just good enough to put your wallet in, pair of glasses, sunglasses, etc. Nothing too big, but that's brilliant. And you will have seen on the side, I've got these BagTech bags. In this one, on this side, for example, I've got my wet weather gear in there. And on the other side, I've got a couple of tools and also my puncture repair kit. So if we do manage to get stuck out somewhere in the darkest, deepest without ability to call somebody to help, I might be able to repair a puncture on the go, but unlikely. Anyway, that's just me. Moving down slightly, again, I've got the engine bars. These are the Royal Enfield engine bars, so they come from the Royal Enfield themselves, and that came standard on the bike in the deal that I got. They're not the best looking, they stick out quite far, as you can see. However, if I drop the bike, I'm sure they would do the job. The Jimi one has got 3 mountings, 1, 2 and a third one back here, so it sits more shallow on the engine casing there. It doesn't stick out as far. Looks better, and I'm sure it works better as well, having 3 mounts on it, but it's not the be all and the end all. I'm quite happy with those. They don't stick out any further than the bags anyway, so that's it's not a problem. I've got these little knee pads on there. I stuck those on when I first got the bike. They match the brown stripe on there and the brown saddle that comes on the bike. So aesthetically they look good, but I don't know, are they practical? I don't know. I can feel them in my inside of my leg when I'm riding, but I don't think they make a massive amount of difference. I think it's just aesthetics, and that's, again, like I say, it's just making this bike my bike and different to anybody else's bike, as we all do. I'm moving around down the bottom, and we're going to go to this here, which is the box that I put on the back, the exhaust box, but it's the Power Range exhaust. Why did I fit that? Well, 2 reasons. The first one is it's about half the weight of the stock box, and did I modify it for the power, additional power? I'm not quite sure. That wasn't top of the agenda. If it gives me a little fraction of a horsepower extra, then I'm very happy with that, but I can't say myself personally that I felt that, but it sounds good. It sounds good, and it weighs less. Those are the 2 advantages that I've taken from that, and it, that's probably what I wanted it for. And I don't believe in buying a 411cc 24 brake horsepower motorbike and trying to make it a 600cc 50 horsepower bike. If you want one of those, go and buy one of those. I think it's pointless taking a 24 brake horsepower motor and trying to make it a 50 horsepower motor with all the mods and extras and that you've fitted into it. Oh yes, by the way, while we're on this side of the bike, behind there is the battery compartment, and I fitted a lithium battery in there, which is about 3/4 of the size of the stock battery. and I'm going to say almost half the weight of the stock battery. I fitted that for a couple of reasons. The weight is one of them. Trying to reduce the weight of the bike with a 24 brake horsepower motor is a good thing. It can't be a bad thing. But mainly because I heard on the YouTube reviews before I bought the bike and after I bought the bike that a lot of guys were having trouble with the stock battery. So I thought, I don't want to get stuck somewhere and have that problem with a stock battery failing on me. So I changed the battery before it happened. So preventative measure, should we say. But the battery that I bought, and I'll put the name up on the screen for you guys to see, has a fail-safe feature which I really liked about it. If for example I left my quad lock base on, or anything that's going to drain the power of the battery whilst I'm not using the bike, and it drains it down. If it were a standard battery, a lead acid battery, that would drain down to 0 and you wouldn't be able to start the bike, full stop. This fail-safe feature on the bike allows, it drains down to, I think it's 10%, or it could be 20%. So it leaves in the bottom of the charge a 10 or 20% available to you, and it shuts the battery down when it gets to that level. And what it does then is it allows you, when you come back to the bike and you turn the ignition on and you can see that it's pretty dead, all you do is you take that seat cover off, reach through, there's a little button on the top of the battery, you push that reset button, it energizes that 10 or 20% that's available in the battery, and that allows you to start the bike. So that's the fail-safe feature on it. That's what I bought the battery for. It wasn't cheap, and I'll put the price up on the screen for you guys to see now. But in my opinion, it beats having a bike that won't start when you perhaps sitting out in the country somewhere, having stopped for a coffee, or even if it's, you know, you just starting the bike up after a long winter in your garage. You don't want to be mucking about with batteries and all of that kind of stuff. So that was definitely something that I reckon is worthwhile that I fitted to the bike. I'm sure you've noticed my little YouTube channel logo on the side of the bike, and if you scan that you go directly to my channel. But also, if you're watching my channel, you would have seen that we did the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride in Guildford this year in 2024 with a couple of mates. Right, moving round to the back of the bike. I'm sure that you guys that know the Himalayans will realize that something's changed on the back here. Well, what I did was I watched a couple of videos on people that had done some tail tidies on the back of the bike, and I thought that looks pretty simple, I can do that my own, and I did. So what I did was, on the back of the bike, the standard, they've got a bit of plastic that comes out here. That is where this little reflector is mounted on. So the number plate sits pretty much in this region here. It's a bit lengthy, unsightly. And also it had the number plate light stuck on it as well. So what I did was I unbolted the number plate light, unplugged it from under the seat, took that off, and this bracket here comes with the frame for the panniers. So all I did was I bent that frame slightly out at a 45-degree angle, drilled a couple of holes in it, one for the light and two for the number plate, and I bolted the number plate light back onto there, and as you can see I fed the cable through, drilled a hole in the mudguard itself, so a real DIY job, and it just tidied the back up. There we go. So moving on from that, the panniers, as I said, they aluminium panniers. They are the genuine Royal Enfield, well, I say genuine Royal Enfield, they're branded Royal Enfield. Who makes them, we don't know, but they're pretty good. They have a locking mechanism. I'll show you, you can see I've got loads of stuff inside here. It's just a locking mechanism that goes on the side. So undo that bolt, unscrew that, and those things come off and the pannier comes off. So it's pretty easy to release and to get back onto the bike. Waterproof? Yes, I think so. The IP rating of those is pretty good. I've ridden in rain with all sorts of things in the panniers and nothing to date has got wet, so that's pretty good. What else have we added? I recently changed the back tire. So as I say, this is a 6,500 mile review on the bike. Probably at about 6,000 I changed that tire, so as you can see it's pretty new. And so the CEAT stock tire came off of there, and we've got a Pirelli on there at the moment, which I'm pretty happy with. It seems to work okay. So moving around onto this side, I've got one of these air-cool seat covers that I fitted onto the bike. I've ridden bikes all over Europe, mainly big 1200 GSAs, and I've had numb bums many times. I gotta say, and this is my opinion, is that this here works a treat. It really does work a treat. I've ridden for hours on this bike without getting a numb bum. That's the first thing. It really does make a difference where you're sitting on there, and I don't know whether you get wind underneath it, the air cool comes through, but it's amazing what it does. It really does add to the comfort of the bike. Not that that was an uncomfortable saddle to start with, but it makes it better. So that's a definite improvement. Another thing is that I've seen a lot of guys that have put sheepskins on their bikes. Now, sheepskin is great when you're riding. And again, it does the same sort of thing, adds that airflow and sponginess underneath the rear end when you're sitting on the bike. However, have you ever seen a sheepskin that's got wet? It looks bloody terrible and you can't ride it. You simply cannot ride that bike with that sheepskin without getting a wet bum. And I'm sure nobody wants to get on a bike and ride down the road with a wet bum. With this one, if it rains, the rain goes through there, so when you're sitting on there, you're not getting a wet bum. So that's a major improvement. That's, to me, those are two big things that have that purchase very, very worthwhile. The last thing, another thing on this side here, we've got the air cleaner. And one of the first things I did to the bike was I changed the air filter in there, and I put one of the K&N air filters in. I probably did it more so because everybody else was doing it, and they reckoned that the stock air filter was not that good. I think that's probably more to do with if you're doing off-roading and getting a lot of dust through there. But if you're riding on a day-to-day road ride, I don't think you get much dust or debris going through the air filter anyway. But I changed it. Has it improved the performance of the bike? It's supposed to give better airflow through the filter, so air into the engine. It probably has, but have I felt it? Probably not. But I'm not interested in that. I just changed it, number one, because everybody else was doing it, and number two, because it can't be a bad thing, can it? Looking down here, you can see what I've got is the this little cable, the Optimate charger cable. It connects directly up to the battery, and that allows me to plug the Optimate charger into the lithium battery, a special lithium battery Optimate charger, so that when I'm not using the bike on extended periods, I can keep the battery topped up. I've been told it's not like a trickle charger, it just monitors the battery and looks after the battery in some way. I'm not sure exactly how that works. I forgot to mention, back up here onto the front end of the bike, what I've added on here is these little grips. I'll put the name of these grips on, I just can't remember them. Hush Puppies or something like that, but I'll put the name up on the screen so you can see. I've added these to all of my bikes, my GSAs, all of the bikes I've had, I've added them to them. Purely because, well, the first reason is because I reckon the grips on the bike are too small. So in other words, when you're gripping the handlebar, your hands like that on the bar, and it's going around too far, so almost touching the other side. Whereas if these are just much more comfortable, they're spongy, they're soft. In the wet weather, they do absorb a little bit of moisture, but they dry out pretty quickly, and I've never had a problem with them riding in the wet or the dry. But again, they cost pennies and they have been really, really worth it. Easy to fit, easy to change if they wear out. I've never had one wear out yet, but they're brilliant. They really, really are. One of the mods, okay, so I think we've covered just about everything. Oh, right. One of the things that I've had changed recently is that bash plate on the bottom there. It went in for a service, and the dealer, my dealer Hatfields in Crowthorne, noticed that the bash plate was cracked. I don't know how that happens. Jimmy has probably been off-road 2 very, very small periods in his life, and I don't think we bashed the bash plate on that time. But anyway, the bash plate was cracked, he said, and he replaced that under warranty, which is brilliant. Good for them. And I would never have noticed that. So going back down here into something that I will be changing very, very shortly. I don't know if you can see the condition of my chain is not best. It's not good. And I need to change that. I keep it clean. It's not too well greased at the moment, as you can see, but I'm due to change that. I want to change it and put a better quality chain on it before the chain breaks and I'm stuck out somewhere with a broken chain. And while I'm doing that, going against what I said earlier in performance mods to the bike, I believe that people are putting on a 16-2 sprocket on the front, and I might do that. What that does apparently is it adds a bit of top end speed. It doesn't add the speed. What it does is it cuts the revs down so that it gives you the ability to not be revving the guts out of the bike while you're trying to do, you know, that 70, 75, 80 mile an hour. And so if the revs come down, it just makes the bike feel better when it gets up to there, when you're trying to get up to that speed. I believe that's what it does. So I'm going to give that a try. Again, it can't hurt because it doesn't make much difference to the power at the low end. So there we go. We've done a tour on the bike, and should we say that is my review of my Himalayan, little Jimi, my 24 brake horsepower 411cc E5 22 Reg Royal Enfield Himalayan. And I hope you guys have enjoyed what we've seen, exactly what we got on the bike and how I've enjoyed the bike. Right, okay, conclusion. As you know, if you've been watching the channel, you'll see I went out for a ride on the 450, the bigger brother Himalayan, a while back, and I tried not to, but I did fall in love with that bike. It is a really, really, really nice bike. It handles well. It's got that additional power. You know, there's all those things to like about it. But all the things that I've just showed you that I've done to that bike would make it extremely difficult for me to change for a new bike, because I would have to do those again on the new bike. So the conclusion of would I be changing, Jimmy? The answer to that is I really enjoy what I've got. I really am happy to keep what I've got at the moment, and I hope that you guys can see why. And as I say, this is my personal opinion on the review of the bike. So I'm going to close down now. Thanks very much indeed, guys, for joining us. As I said earlier, please feel free to post some comments, positive or negative. I will read those, I will reply to them, and I hope that you guys will subscribe to the channel and ring that bell so that you're made aware of the next videos that we've got coming up in the near future. Talk to you soon, guys. Have a good day. Cheers. Bye.